So we're still here in the garage trying to work on this whole restoration process as men, both restoring an old car and restoring a man's heart. And we're about to enter into phase 4, walk with God in the disciplines, where you and I are going to be invited into using some of these tools to hopefully continue this restoration process forward. But let me first take just a moment. Let's pause and remember where we've been. To kind of catch up for a minute. You know, we began with phase 1 of the restoration process, which is know God as Father. And you'll remember we kind of dove into our relationships with our earthly dads and spent some time looking at that relationship and what our dads poured into us, both in healthy and some unhealthy ways. And then what does it mean to relate to God as Father? That was phase 1 of the restored man process. And then we went to phase 2, which was knowing self. You remember we had the vehicle up on the rack and things were really broken down and we had a lot of work to do. And in our lives, as our journeys as men, we began to dive into our stories, kind of paralleling King David's life and your journey and my journey as a man. That was phase 2. And then we just finished up phase 3, which was living in brokenness and humility. That biblical theme of God showing His power in really broken and weak people's lives. And you know, that is not just a part of the restoration process that we do one time and we get through it. You know, I've come to see over the years, that's just something we continue to walk in as God reveals more layers of brokenness and delivers more of His grace and power. And so now we come into this part of the garage. You can kind of see I'm surrounded by a lot of tools and different things that we use to continue the restoration process. And so this is phase 4, walk with God in the disciplines. Now let's you and I be honest for a minute. When you think about disciplines, maybe you're kind of like me. I think about scripture reading and prayer, and a lot of these tools seem kind of dried up, don't they? They almost seem impersonal. Things that maybe you grew up doing or maybe you didn't, but there's like a dry element to it. And what I hope happens in this chapter is, one of those phrases that I repeat throughout, is that the disciplines are avenues of fathering. There's this real personal edge to the disciplines. So whether it's reading Scripture, prayer, confession that we'll talk about, I hope that you begin to see these disciplines as ways that God fathers us. You know, I told you a few sessions back, that's been one of those prayers over the years for me, which is asking God to daily father me. And so for me, when I, take up Scripture and spend some time with God there, I'm asking Him, God, father me. Will you show me a little bit more of your heart through your Word? And so this is the part of the restoration process where, as men, we are actually using things like prayer, Bible study, confession, in the context of a community of men, as ways for God to father us. And my hope is that through this, you'll begin to see a little bit more of God's heart, and you'll get to see a little bit more of your own heart. But I guess I found over the years, this is the part of the restoration process where we're beginning to take up some of these tools. But I intentionally put it here because I don't want us to get too religious with this or legalistic. Because the goal is not even the discipline. The goal is not the tool. The goal is to be fathered by God. And these are wonderful tools to give us the ability to walk closer with Him. So, phase 4, walk with God in the disciplines. I hope this is a phase that is rich for you, and one where you can really dig in and learn some of these great tools of the faith.